Stories that lead this episode of Healthy and Happy Senior Living. Scientists find there's usually a telltale sign the day before a heart attack, and we will share exactly what those telltale signs are. How stress affects cancer. This from the MD Anderson Cancer Center. Would you like a healthier heart? How about getting an actual prescription from your MD, a prescription for fruits and veggies? Would you like to improve your memory? Well, digital puzzle games may help. And here's a question. Can you get sick from your watch band? It turns out that's not such an odd question after all. All of the information about these research items and so much more in this episode of Healthy and Happy Senior Living. Hello and welcome to this episode of Healthy and Happy Senior Living. I am your host, Stephen Carter. I do thank you for joining me for this episode. Who is this show for? Well, obviously, if you're a senior, this show is for you. If you are a caregiver, whether you're a professional caregiver or you're caring for a loved one, whether you're a senior, a caregiver, or someone simply interested in great health, you have found a worthy home right here. One important caveat here, I do want to make it clear, I am not a medical doctor. I do not play one on TV, and I offer no medical advice. The information about the various research findings, I'm sharing that information as information for you to consider and, of course, to talk over with your doctor. I encourage you not to make any changes in medication or any other changes vis-a-vis your health until you have spoken with your medical doctor. From a site called Futurism, as published in Yahoo News, an article by Sharon Adarlo, dated August 30, 2023, headline, Scientists find there's usually a telltale sign the day before a heart attack. Scientists find there's usually a telltale sign the day before a heart attack. Lead information. New research reveals that 50% of cardiac patients have a physical symptom a day before a heart attack. These findings are nuanced according to medical researchers at Smith Heart Institute at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles, with women and men having distinct yet prominent warning signs of the impending and sadly often fatal health crisis. Women tend to have shortness of breath, while men experience chest pain. Other less common warning signs that both genders experience include seizure-like activity and abnormal sweating. This information was published in the journal Lancet Digital Health. You'll find more information in this article, which, like all articles, will be linked in the show notes. From the MD Anderson Cancer Center, How Stress Affects Cancer Risk. How stress affects cancer risk. Subheading, Chronic stress can have a big impact on your health. Opening paragraphs, stress is a part of life. You feel it when you're preparing for the holidays, stuck in traffic, or worrying about a friend's health. While a little stress is nothing to fret about, the kind of intense worry that lingers for weeks or months may make it hard for you to stay healthy. Stress has a profound impact on how your body systems function, says Lawrence Cohen, Ph.D., professor of general oncology and behavioral science, and director of the integrative medicine program at MD Anderson. Health experts are still sorting out whether stress actually causes cancer, And I'll add an editorial comment here. From the research I've seen, I don't think that they have made that strong causative connection. Going back to Dr. Cohen's commentary, he goes on, yet there's little doubt that it promotes the growth and spread of some forms of the disease. Put simply, stress makes your body more hospitable to cancer, Cohen says. The article goes on to highlight the differences between acute and chronic stress. The bottom line here is stress is an important component for health. Low stress helps the mind-body maintain the best health possible, and high chronic stress, well, it does the opposite. There are multiple ways for reducing stress. Getting out in Mother Nature, meditation, spending time breathing simply focused on your breath, singing, dancing, exercise. These are just a few ways to keep your stress in check. And I would also add, keeping stress low is a valuable activity to be done daily. Daily relaxation breaks, keeping stress low. One of my other podcasts actually focuses on keeping stress in check. Visit my website at stressreliefradio.com. Go to the podcast menu option and select the Easy Stress Cures podcast. There is a ton of great information in those podcast episodes about how to stay relaxed, stay calm, and keep stress low. From 9 to 5 Mac. 9 to 5 Mac. Headline, your Apple Watch band is likely covered in bacteria, new study says. Your Apple Watch band is likely covered in bacteria, new study says. From Chance Miller, dated August 18, 2023. Lead paragraph, in what will come as wholly unsurprising news for many people, your Apple Watch band is a breeding ground for bacteria. New research published in the Advances in Infectious Diseases Journal goes more in depth on the issue, finding a correlation between certain types of Apple Watch bands and higher levels of bacteria. The study, as first spotted by the New York Post, was done by a team of researchers from Florida Atlantic University. The study consisted of bands for the Apple Watch and other wearables made from rubber, cloth, leather, plastic, gold, and silver. The goal was to find a between the material of the wristband and bacteria buildup. Right off the bat, the study found 95% of all bands were contaminated with some kind of dangerous bacteria. And the bacteria most attracted or attached to Apple Watch bands can cause staph infections, and it was found on 85% of bands. And there were other bacteria, which I certainly cannot pronounce, but one of those germs, according to the CDC, Center for Disease Control, says can cause pneumonia, infections in the blood, and more. Researchers also pointed out that 60% of wearables tested contained E. coli bacteria. Now, this article being in Mac 9 to 5, of course, is Apple Watch-centric, but I do believe that bacteria is going to be found on pretty much all watch bands. I'll have this article linked in the show notes, and I will also have another article that explains how to clean your watch bands properly. From Medical News Today, Heart Health, how a produce prescription for fruits and vegetables can help. Key findings in this research published in the journal Circulation, Cardiovascular Quality and Outcomes. Produce prescriptions enable doctors to prescribe subsidized fresh fruit and vegetables. Produce prescription enable doctors to prescribe subsidized fresh fruit and vegetables. A study of produce prescription programs found participants ate more fruits and vegetables and decreased their body mass index, blood sugar, and blood pressure. Produce prescriptions also reduce food insecurity, which is associated with poor health outcomes. This study focused on predominantly low-income neighborhoods. As part of the produce prescription program, participants were given an average of $63 a month to buy fruits and vegetables. I find this a very interesting program. Also interesting are the demonstrated health benefits of a simple dietary change brought about by these prescription programs. Better health for sure for those who participated. All of the information, including the health benefits, well, you'll find those linked in the article. Next up, from Medical News Today, could physical activity help lower the risk of AFib and stroke? Could physical activity help lower the risk of AFib and stroke? Key findings: arterial fibrillation, also known as AFib, is an abnormal heart rhythm that can harm cardiovascular health. Study findings presented at the ESC Congress 2023 found that the higher levels of physical fitness were associated with decreased risk for arterial fibrillation, easy for me to say, arterial AFib, stroke, and major adverse cardiovascular events, also known as MACE. And key point 3, further research could replicate these findings and look into the specific physical fitness parameters that may be the most useful. Next up, from Medical News Today, how catheter ablation may lower dementia risk in older adults with atrial fibrillation. Key findings: atrial fibrillation affects about 30 million people worldwide. Researchers report that people who have had cardiac ablation for the condition are less likely to develop dementia than those who did not have it. And they also noted there was a significantly reduced all-cause death rate for people who had cardiac ablation. This study published in the Journal of the American Geriatrics Society. Healthy aging. From Medical News Today, how dietary changes without calorie restrictions can help with healthy aging. Key findings: yeast provides scientists with a cellular structure to test anti-aging substances and see their reaction at a cellular level. Experts say short-term diets do not work as well as changing to healthy foods. They say dietary changes rather than caloric restriction increase lifespan and improve aging health. More details, of course, in the article. Let's have a look at some studies related to Parkinson's disease. From Medical News Today, IBS and other digestive issues may be an early indicator of Parkinson's disease. Key findings: recently published research suggests certain gastrointestinal issues could be early warning signs of Parkinson's disease. Researchers compared medical records of individuals who had been diagnosed with Parkinson's with individuals who had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's or, and I'll spell this, cerebrovascular disease, or none of these diseases. Their analysis suggests 4 gut conditions may be associated with a higher risk of later receiving a diagnosis of Parkinson's. Those 4 are constipation, dysphagia, which is difficulty swallowing, gastroparesis, which is delayed stomach emptying, and for irritable bowel syndrome without diarrhea. Now, I think it's important to keep in mind, just because we may experience 1, 2, or maybe even more of these 4, that does not mean that Parkinson's disease is a given. If you do experience any of these 4 or any stomach condition, do have a chat with your doctor and let him or her run tests to see if there is some underlying condition that needs to be addressed. Here's yet another article. Parkinson's may actually start in the gut, new evidence suggests. This study from Columbia University Irving Medical Center in New York City. Next up from Medical News Today, new blood tests could help diagnose Parkinson's disease earlier. Key findings. Duke University researchers said DNA damage in blood cells can serve as an early warning of Parkinson's disease. Scientists also found that genetic biomarkers could be used to monitor the effectiveness of Parkinson's therapies. A simple blood test based on the research could aid in detection and treatment of the disease, as well as improve future research. Here is a very, very inspiring story from Medical News Today. AI tech gives back voice to woman with post-stroke locked-in syndrome. Key findings. Locked-in syndrome is a neurological disorder where a person cannot speak or show facial expressions. Most people with this condition must rely only on eye blinking and movement to communicate with others. Researchers from the University of California, San Francisco have developed a new way for people with locked-in syndrome to both communicate and show facial expressions through the use of a brain implant and digital avatar. Very, very, very cool application of AI, which, depending on who you talk with, can mean automated intelligence or assisted intelligence. Another story from Medical News Today, headline, Taking adult education classes linked to lower dementia risk later in life. Taking adult education classes linked to lower dementia risk later in life. Key findings. Adult education is linked to a reduced risk of dementia in a new study. The study finds that people who took adult education classes were 19% less likely to develop dementia later on. Experts advise that the most important overall action is maintaining a healthy lifestyle that helps keep the body and mind fit. Next up in the Healthy Brain department, headline, Digital puzzle games may help improve memory in older adults, study finds. Key findings. Researchers recently conducted a study to see how playing different types of video games impacts memory capabilities in both younger and older adults. They compared how well they performed, they being the study participants. They compared how well they performed at certain tasks that tested both their working memory and ability to ignore distractions to what types of video games the participants were reported playing. They learned that older adults who played digital puzzle games had better concentration, abilities compared to older adults who either do not play digital games or play a different type of game. Alternatively, younger adults who reported playing strategy games had a superior working memory compared to those who did not report any history of playing games. So I guess the key takeaway here is be a game player. Playing games, keeping your mind active, all of these activities may help stave off dementia and keep your brain sharp. That will do it for today's episode. I thank you very, very much for joining me. If you would like to listen to previous episodes of Healthy and Happy Senior Living, visit our website at stressreliefradio.com, stressreliefradio.com. And if you're not yet following the Healthy and Happy Senior Living Show where you get your podcasts, why, by golly, this is a perfect time to hit that follow button where you get your podcasts. When you follow, also known as subscribe, you will never miss an episode. If you would like to be in touch, I would love to hear from you. Email me at cartermethod@gmail.com, cartermethod@gmail.com. Until our next visit together, your host here, Stephen Carter, wishing for you and your loved ones blessings in abundance.